The year, irrelevant. Africa, the country, irrelevant. It could be Zimbabwe, Sierra Leone, Ghana perhaps, maybe Rwanda, but that's not the point. The story shadows across Africa as a whole. A girl child is born, no ululating. Sounds of sorrow pierce the expectations of the culture. Sighs and mourning linger in the air, faces full of disappointment. She, who was invisible, was named Tinemimbo. We have hope. Not hope for the future, not hope for her well-being, but hope for a perceived better tomorrow. A so-called better tomorrow that would bring the sounds of a wailing baby boy. This encapsulates the attitudes throughout the most of Africa, the value placed on a girl's child's life. Invisible, inferior, a shadow in a society where the sun shines out of a male's bottom. The battle for existence, acceptance, and value is a battle that I've been fighting for almost my entire life. In Africa, as a female, I am inferior. As a lesbian, I am invisible. My very existence, unfortunately, is illegal. Colonialism has left many deep scars on the African psyche. The myth that homosexuality is a borrowed Western custom and un-African is utterly bollocks. And yet this belief has been permeated the psyche of every insecure and colonized mind. Evidently, right-wing American evangelists are finding this deep-rooted insecurity a fertile soil in which to plant their poisonous, discriminative attitudes towards homosexuals. The Ugandan anti-homosexuality bill is the epitome of this rise in extremist homophobia. I believe there's a link between the insecure men, disempowerment of women, and the inability to accept homosexuality as just another part of life's rich tapestry. It just so happens that these insecure men are the same homophobes that stand in governance in this relatively newly emerging independent continent. That gay child has a mother, is someone's child. Therefore, I sit here as a strong believer in that if women were valued in African society and empowered in governance, then the prevalence of homophobia would decrease. What Ugandan mother would send her child to the electric chair? What Ugandan life-giver female would allow her son or daughter to be hung? Women carry more sensitivity towards humankind and display greater concerns about children and welfare of people. Those great qualities come from a mother, a sister, a wife, a provider, an auntie, a carer, a life giver, and it comes naturally to women. I call it the mother instinct. Women are agents of change in Africa if consulted on matters relating to governance and public interest. Women need to take the stand to ensure we stand up against violations of our brothers and sisters' human rights, as their rights are also our rights. In Africa, homosexuality is illegal for gay men in over 29 countries and for lesbian women in over 20 countries. In many other African states where homosexuality still is not a matter of public discussion, the legal status of homosexuality does not state much about the status of homosexuals there. In Nigeria, the penalty for being gay is death. Homosexuality is punishable by death, by stoning in the 12 states that have adopted Sharia law, and by up to 14 years imprisonment throughout the country. In Tanzania, the penalty for being gay is life imprisonment. In Sudan, the penalty for being gay is death. In Zimbabwe, where I'm from, the penalty for being gay is up to 10 years in prison, if you're lucky to even come out alive. In Somalia, where there are no certain laws regulating homosexuality, a lesbian couple was sentenced to death by stoning in 2001. In many African states where Islam is significant and influence, the methods of killing lesbians and gays include beheading, stoning to death, burning alive, being hung, or raped 100,000 times. Women have been known to play a fundamental role in the struggle for liberation. For example, in South Africa, And women can still play a fundamental role in the freedom of expression of homosexual rights. Women should and need to stick up for each other and question the things that are being done to us, are being done to homosexuals, are being done to their sons, their fathers, their daughters, their brothers, and their sisters, and their mothers. Women are without a doubt powerhouses. They are the bedrock of any society, African, Asian, Oriental, or otherwise. And it's through the support for this bedrock that justice, equality, and tolerance will be created. Women, as we all know, make up a large proportion of the population throughout the whole of Africa, and in particular in Rwanda, with 56.3% of women having in parliament, which Rwanda pretty much takes the #1 spot in the whole wide world. In South Africa, where homosexual is legal, but still where they've got the biggest problem in corrective rape. They've got 44.6% of women in parliament. I am not here as an asylum seeker. I am not here to denounce Africa. I love Africa. I am here, however, as a refugee, to denounce the two great evils which menace the African society. The two great evils, hatred and ignorance, influenced by religion. In this 21st century, after slavery, after emancipation, after colonialism and independence, after civil rights and the Black feminist movement, and after technology, we are surely entitled to choose and have the freedom to sleep with whoever we want to, regardless of their sex, gender, creed, race, and/or language. Sexuality should be and is only a fragment of what we are and should not be a threat to humanity. Many Africans believe that homosexuality is a foreign import, despite the ironic fact that it was actually Europeans who imposed bans on homosexuality on their African colonies. The idea of homosexuality being somehow un-African and non-existing is widely believed, despite being completely ignorant nonsense. Much of these research figures are a product of white academics who had little knowledge of African cultures. No one really knows how widespread homosexuality is, since many people in Africa live in hiding, and governments block reports on homosexuality figures being published. Historically, homosexuality was part of society, embedded within the customs and traditions and ways of many African beliefs. Historically, African beliefs, customs, and traditions consisted more of ancestral spirits, rituals, beliefs that had no connection to a white, blue-eyed, blonde Jesus. I would, however, still be blind to not state that certain parts of our African history and cultures also encourage gender inequality, unfortunately, and homophobia. However, I still believe that the discrimination was rather amplified through the patriarchal lens of the colonialist. Hence, for me, colonialism did not bring about homosexuality. Rather, to answer your question, colonialism brought homophobia and criminalization of homosexuality, and evidently patriarchal system of government and social stratification. I believe in the law of love, and I believe that you can do nothing with hatred. I am left wondering why we as human beings are still so negatively fascinated by notions of difference, of race, of sexuality, and tribalism. The otherness, them, us, who are they? Boxes that we seek to define others by certainly have made history much more brutal, chaotic, messy, and scarred. I can go on. For how long? Until when? When we will look at each other with appreciation as people, as humans, instead of members of difference, of otherness. People always say to me, I can't be lesbian and be African. That is proper bullshit. I am anything but I'm a victim though. Am I African? Or am I gay? I absolutely reject the impossible, insulting, demeaning, ahistorical, cruel, and utterly false choice.